Hi, I'm Alex and welcome to Might I Suggest a Game, a channel devoted to helping you find your perfect board game. In today's episode of Fresh from the Cellar, we're taking back control of the week.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
That's right, we're talking about the game Control, designed by Julio y Nazario and published by Pandasaurus Games. Before we start, why not hit that subscribe button and that little bell thing too so you can get notifications when I post new videos. It'll only take you a second, but it'll make my whole week. Alright, back to it. Control is a 3D abstract game for 2 to 4 players that plays in about 20 to 30 minutes. In my experience, Control plays best at the 2-player count, as the variant adds some interesting elements that spice up the gameplay and enhance the strategy. Control comes with 88 of these colorful, connectable blocks, which bring an awesome tactile element to the game. Full disclosure though, the blocks themselves can sometimes be tricky to connect to one another, so make sure your blocks are secure when adding them to the battlefield, or else they may fall off and disrupt the flow of the game. With that being said, let's take a look at the gameplay. The goal of Control is exactly that. You want to control the most area on the starting cube by populating each of the 5 visible faces with your colorful blocks. In a 2-player game, you'll start by dealing out the 4 color cards and secretly choosing one to be your color. The color you chose is now the color you'll score at the end of the game, while the other will act as your decoy. This adds an element of bluffing and deduction, which isn't present in the 3 or 4 player game, where you only play one color. On your turn, you'll begin by removing your flag from its location. More to come on that later. Then you'll place 3 of your blocks according to these rules. Number 1, your first block must be adjacent to another block in the same color. Then, number 2, the remaining blocks must be placed in a straight path going out from that original block. If you reach an edge, roll over it. Bumped into a step, climb it. You'll encounter many interesting configurations on this 3D landscape, but when in doubt, just remember that you should always be traveling along the surface of the battlefield and not away from it. Once you've placed all 3 of your blocks, you may now take your flag and place it back into a block of your color. Other players will not be able to cross your flag when planning out their movement, and any blocks of your opponent's color that are covered by your flag at the end of the game no longer count towards their final score. So place it wisely. Play continues until all relevant blocks have been placed, at which point you'll count up the final scores. Rotate the cube to see each side one at a time and count up how many of your color faces are visible from that angle. Don't forget the top-down view too. Whoever has the most of their color showing on all 5 faces, meaning they control the most domain, wins the game. Control is an awesome 3D puzzle that really stretched my brain capacity and spatial reasoning abilities. The number of blocks you place throughout the game is the perfect amount to make you feel like each one really counts. It also keeps the game short, which is great because if it had gone any longer, I think my head would have exploded. It reminded me of a more colorful version of Santorini or a more dimensional version of Blockus, but really, the pieces and the gameplay made Control feel like it was in a league of its own. Now, onto my recommendations. Here are my recommendations for the type of people that I think would really like Control. First, if you really liked Legos growing up, I was more of a Bionicle guy myself. Magnificent. And you love building things that require fine motor skills? Then you should check out Control. Second, if you're some sort of spatial reasoning savant and the inside of your brain looks like one of those 3D models of the Death Star, then you should definitely get this game. And finally, if you're just looking for a really colorful and tactile game that's easy to learn, tricky to master, and doesn't overstay its welcome, then might I suggest Control. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Fresh from the Cellar. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you make a decision on whether or not to get this game. But now, it's your turn to chime in. What new-ish games do you want to see an overview for? Drop them below in the comments so I can keep populating this channel with content that you want to see. Thanks so much for everyone that supported this channel so far. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep growing this channel and keep helping you find your perfect board game. Once again, this has been a Might I Suggest a Game production, and I'm Alex, your board game sommelier, signing off.